Welcome to your weekly dose of horror news and fun. This is TerrorVision Horror Podcast, Episode 2, Now I'm Playing With Power. This is Monday the 18th of May. I'm your host, Dan the Limb Collector McGuinness, and joining me today, as always, is my co-host, Jennifer the Dream Warrior Strand. Hello, Jen.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. I forgot to read my last line. Oh, damn it. I was doing such a good intro. It was amazing.
It's a great intro.
Keep
going.
Well, together we are two people who love horror and feel the burn of our obsolete Blockbuster memberships. Ooh.
Nailed it.
Thank you very much. So that's exactly what we are. So I guess we're just going to move straight over into... Are we going to introduce ourselves again?
I'm pretty certain we introduced ourselves in the first episode. For those of you who haven't listened to the first episode, you can listen to it pretty much everywhere. You get to know who we are a little bit more. And then jump back into this one. So, yeah, there you go.
That is true. You can hear us on all major podcasting services. You can also find us over on YouTube, youtube.com/TerrorVision Pod. And I think that's about it. We have a Facebook page. We have an email if you want to email us cool things or just poke fun at us at TerrorVisionPod@gmail.com. So let's get on with it, I reckon. How have you been, Jen?
Good, actually. It's been a slow week for horror news, I think, but it's been a big week for watching horror.
It has. Everything's been pretty weak for watching horror. Everything's been great for watching recently, actually.
Yeah, it's very true. It's been a smorgasbord of horror.
Yeah, I've been going crazy on the older stuff and some of the newer stuff. But this week in horror, so horror news this week, we have 5 stories to talk about. And number 1 on the horror news is Netflix orders a comic book adaptation of Sweet Tooth.
Okay, so I've not read this comic, so you're going to have to tell me a little bit about it and then go from there.
Yeah, so based on a comic book written by Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire is an amazing writer. He has done some really dark... He's got a very dark style, and it's not like... It's not like he's gory or dark for dark's sake. He uses dark elements within his stories that need to be there and complement the writing. He's very, very good. He does, he's been doing, lots of kind of stuff for DC recently, but Sweet Tooth was one of the ones he kind of started with, it's been out for a while now. I couldn't tell you when it came out. It'd be going on, it'd be going on probably 7 years ago or something. This comic book came out, the series.
Oh wow! Okay.
I don't quote me on that, and
I won't.
and
so Netflix is basically just going through the back catalogue of comics, going, what can we adapt today?
I mean, this isn't quite. It is a kind of a horror story. It's set post-apocalyptic. People or kids and stuff grow. There's races of people that grow horns or they're little pig people or stuff like that. There's also humans and stuff existing in this world, and it comes up against some pretty full-on decisions in it. I'm not going to get into what Sweet Tooth is about as a comic book, but Jeff Lemire as a writer, he is something else. That dude, he wrote a comic called recently I've been loving called Black Hammer for the DC for DC, and originally he wrote this. He wrote Black Hammer a long time ago before he was famous, imagining what if I could do my own superhero team one day, and he's just so good now that he pulled it out and just went, I'm just going to do a superhero team for DC. You know what I mean? He made it, he did it, and Black Hammer is an amazing story. So if you ever get the opportunity to find Black Hammer, you can go to Greenlight Comics in Adelaide to my comic shop and buy it if you want. Plug.
Well done. I love that. So it looks like it's being produced by Robert Downey Jr., so that's definitely going to get some pull.
That will. And his team is called Team Downey?
Slightly. I don't know how to feel about that, but let's not go into that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And it's also some dudes who did some co-creators that did was it Arrow?
Yeah, I think Arrow, the Arrow showrunner Beth Schwartz, and Warner Brother TV.
Oh, nice. So this is borderlining on horror news, but we'll get into it. As you said, it has been a little bit of a slow horror news. But for people who like comic books and people that like dark, gritty, gnarly post-apocalyptic kind of vibe, but not too post-apocalyptic, like decision-based, horrible things happening comics. This is definitely Sweet Tooth is a great comic for you. And it's because it's been out for a while, the whole thing's out. So if you want to binge it, you can just binge the whole comic series. But yeah.
Sounds good, yeah.
I don't think we got much more to say about that, do you?
No, I mean, I've not read the series, so I've got nothing to say about it. I'm excited. I like. Did they say if it's going to be live action or is it going to be animated?
It doesn't actually say. It just doesn't. I was assuming it was going to be a live action because, like, it just wouldn't lend itself very well to animation. I mean, it would. Jeff Lemire's art style. He is also the artist on Sweet Tooth as well. So he's like, the super skilled guy, artist, writer, can do both. But I would say it would lend itself best. The visuals of what it is would lend itself to a live action adaptation. Like, as good as cartoony as his art is, I feel it would just number one, people would think it'd be for kids, and then the kids would watch it and they'd be like traumatized. And I think I would like to see it myself. As like, I want to see the kid with the horns coming out of his head, like the antlers. I want to see the pig kids and bear kids and beaver kids and stuff like that. And I want to see it done well in a way that doesn't seem stupid. That will be your hardest thing to do it, like in this, like creating little. And I guess,
sorry. Yeah, I mean, I guess when a lot of adaptations happen, that's where people get really sort of picky and finicky about how it looks, because if it doesn't translate to what is 100% in their mind, then they freak out. So
true. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Have we got a date? When's it coming out, or is it just like an early rumor we're dealing with at the moment?
I think it was originally handed to Hulu in 2018. Didn't go forward, but I don't think there's any kind of release dates or anything like that. So I'm guessing they've just sort of announced it and they're working things out still.
Man, DC's really getting heaps of their properties in TV shows, aren't they? Like DC and Vertigo. So you've got stuff like iZombie, Lucifer, Preacher. I loved Preacher. That was such a good show.
I only got halfway through the first season.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't like it, just because I forgot about it and didn't go back to it.
Well, it kind of only, the second season is when the comics start. So that first season is like a weird prequel kind of thing that, you know what I mean? It's kind of weird, yeah. The last episode of season 1 is where the comics kind of start, like, which is like, okay. Because I was a bit like, they do, like sprinkle in. They just dust over some of the stuff that does happen in the comic in the first season, but the majority of that kind of thing, it didn't really dig its teeth in until the second season, and then the third season is basically exactly the same as the book, which is great.
That's good.
Anyhow, moving on. Let's move on to story number 2.
Here's a good one.
Are you ready? Yeah. Original Ghoulies creators hoping to get Sony on board with a franchise reboot. Now, this is from Bloody Disgusting. The one before was actually from Deadline.com. We should mention that. So this was Bloody Disgusting put this one up just recently. I'm just going to go in there and have a look. So, Ghoulies. Now, do you have any Ghoulies history, Jen?
I don't have to. It's always been one that the cover has fascinated me. I've just never gotten around to watching it, and it's funny enough that I'm like, shit, okay, I should probably check this film out, especially if we were going to talk about a little bit of it today. That way I could have some prior knowledge. And I went to watch it on Stan, and they've just recently pulled it from Stan, so
bloody jerks.
Left. What bastards.
I've got a lot. I've got a fairly big childhood chunk memory of Ghoulies. Ghoulies was the one, the video shop cover that everyone remembered. It had the little green man coming out of the toilet, and as a child, that was the kind of thing that when I went to the toilet in the middle of the night and I used to lift up the toilet, I was just always sure there was going to be that ghouly little face looking up at me. For those who don't know what the Ghoulies are, they're just these, I don't know, they're little ghoulies. They're like gremlins, if gremlins were more kind of troll-based kind of thing.
Yeah.
More than...
I'd say ghoulies are gremlins if gremlins was made by trauma.
Yeah. And so what was it? 1990.
It's 1985 because it's turned 35 this year.
Oh, 35 years old for Ghoulies. But yeah, so that cover, it's, oh man, like the blue border of it with the little, really oversaturated green little man, green ghoulie coming out of the top. The film itself is like, give or take. You don't need it. The second one and third one, Ghoulies Go to College.
Oh, God.
was number 2. Not really worth it. Apparently it went up to 4. I never saw the fourth one.
I believe that the fourth movie was in 94, and that's sort of where it's been. So the franchise itself has just sort of been sitting around for the last 25 years collecting dust, and I'm guessing that they just really want to sort of reboot it and get some cash grabbing in.
The thing is, you know what hasn't been rebooted? Gremlins, right? You're going to reboot Gremlins before you reboot Ghoulies, eh?
I don't know. I feel that there are certain films that are just, they're so good or so iconic that they're never going to get remade. Like, they've always been, like, whispers about a Gremlins remake, but it's just one of those things that I don't think you can do it.
I like here in the article, John Squires, the writer, writes, at the time of writing this, the petition has been signed for over 120 Ghoulies fans by 120 signatures. That's not anything.
Oh, that is a lot of Ghoulies fans out there, guys. Shit.
120? Wow. That, like, you'd expect, like, if something like with nostalgia attached to it, you're going to be getting in like the 120,000 signatures, or at least 12,000 signatures, not 120. Like, it's like, that's not enough. Like, clearly, no one actually really wants this. 120 people isn't enough for a studio to drop like $100,000 on something.
If you are feeling very strongly about this, you can actually go to change.org and sign the petition yourself. So far, 384 people have signed it. So just an update.
So that's some pretty... this was so this was done on the 13th of May, this article. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. In 5 days, they've nearly doubled their... No, what have they got? 300?
384.
Oh, so they've done it over.
Yeah.
Still not enough.
I think their goal is to get to 500. But look, triple digits, that's pretty impressive.
You think?
No. No, I don't.
Ghoulies, it was a love for me, but it's one of those films where the poster spoke to me. It gave me an adventure in my mind, and when I saw the film, it was just like there were some snooze moments. I mean, it was okay. You know what I mean? Like it's just a flat moment. This is
just like a Communion talk. How Communion was one of those films that neither of us watched as kids, but the cover always fascinated and terrified us. And then we actually watched it together recently, and it wasn't that great.
It was weird, wasn't it? It was like...
It was very weird.
It was more like when the main actor... What's that actor's name?
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. He just went crazy. Like, remember he was just yelling and stuff at the end? It was like one of those... He went full Nicolas Cage. Or maybe Nicolas Cage goes Walken.
No. I still feel that, yeah... Even though that it was however many years ago, I still say it was Walken going Cage.
Oh yeah. Going Cage is definitely a thing, but yeah. So yeah, and I remember in that Communion because it's got the aliens. It's the stereotypical grey aliens, come in and look in your window like, oh, I'm gonna abduct you. Except they were kind of disguised as grey aliens, do you remember? And then they opened their mouths up and they bit your face off and stuff, or they did in a sexy dream sequence or something. It was weird. Like
it was weird. I don't know how to feel after watching it, and that they say is more terrifying than Fire in the Sky, which I feel is a load of shit because Fire in the Sky was terrifying.
Ooh. Yeah. Or Fire in the Sky was great. My most terrifying abduction film is the Fourth Kind. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I watched that recently. Actually, I'd seen it before, but
with Miller.
Oh yeah, that's just such a great film. I felt that the way that they did all of that was just very creepy, and like the contortionist and yeah.
Would you call that a
Aliens, man.
mockumentary?
Sorry.
Would you call it a mockumentary? Because it's weird, because it opens up with actually says, I'm actress Mila Jovovich playing the roles of these real events that happens. I'm like, but it's not real. You know that.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely probably put it under that mockumentary subgenre because, yeah, it's an actress playing a part that's actually fictional. Yeah. Mockumentary. Sounds pretty good to me.
When I saw that the first time, I was going through an emotional state, and I may have been on like a drinking bender for like 4 days or something. And I watched it, and then I finished my night on like, you know, a bottle of red wine, went to bed, and then woke up at like in the middle of the night, had a full blown panic attack. Woke up, thought the aliens were coming to get me, and had to stay up to it's like 3:33 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And like my wife's just sitting there going, he's having a panic attack. It's all right. They're not coming. So I sat there for like 20 minutes because it was like just before 3:33, and I had this, you know, and then I eventually calmed down. The best thing was we were staying at someone else's house when this happened.
Oh, no. They're like, what the hell were you doing last night? Oh, the Greys were coming to get me. Get this guy out of my house.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a low moment in my life. I haven't like nothing. That's the only time ever I've had a full blown panic attack. Like, and it was just
about aliens or just in general.
In general, but like, you know, that full on that I thought it was actually going to happen. Like,
that's
so
fair.
yeah. So I haven't actually watched The Fourth Kind since, but in my mind, it's stuck with me as like that really affected me. That was great.
Yeah. I thought it was a very well done film, and the way that the whole thing was portrayed was just very well done, because a lot of alien stuff gets to me more than anything else, and I don't know why that's the case. It was probably because I was made to watch War of the Worlds when I was like 4, and that traumatized me. Not the Tom Cruise one, by the way, the OG one. But yeah, so anything that gets done like that, it sort of hits you on a different level.
Oh, I forgot because back to the Ghoulies, which is what we were talking about originally.
Oh, yeah, sorry, guys.
I forgot that the Ghoulie on the cover, I'm just looking at the picture now, remembering it, he's wearing a little crop top, and he's wearing suspenders. For some reason, because he clearly doesn't have pants on. I don't know what they're attached to. But
then that begs the question, is he from Children of the Corn, or is he a barista?
He may be a barista. He doesn't have a beard, and his hair is not slicked back, so he may not be a barista. He may just be an ugly chud of a child. But anyhow, let's move on to our number 3. Our number 3 story. Did you want to read this one? We'll take it in turns. We'll take them in turns, I reckon.
I love it. So the Suspiria filmmaker, Luca Guadagnino. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at pronouncing names.
Guadagnino.
Yeah.
Guadagnino? Yes. Let's just not do that.
He is going to be directing a new take on Scarface written by the Coen brothers. I guess the only reason that this is considered horror news is because obviously Luca did do the Suspiria remake that came out last year or 2018. I can't remember. Other than that, this one has me pretty divided though, I think, because Joel and Ethan Coen,
I suppose first up you have to just say, are you a Coen Brothers fan movie? Do you like their other ones?
I like some of them, not all of them.
Which one do you like?
They did Fargo, right?
I think so, yeah. And the one about the Where Brother Art Thou? Is that them?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Oh, damn, we're in a tight spot. Yeah, I like those 2 films. I'm sure there's probably others on their list that I like, but I kind of feel that their style of film making and the way that they do things, I don't think that's really going to translate to Scarface.
See, Scarface to me, the original. Scarface has this huge following. As in, and I feel every time that I see the people who like Scarface and love him, love it for the wrong reasons. For sure. They love it because of this character who, gives the middle finger to everyone and does his own thing and then shoots. And then, he was horrible. He's not a person to like at all, and people love him. Like, what was his name? Tony. What was his name? I can't remember.
I don't even
Tony
know.
Montana. Tony Montana.
Oh, there you go. Yep.
Um,
I've seen that film a couple of times, and the only thing I can tell you about that film, aside from that, famous scene with the snorting of the cocaine and
Yeah,
say hello to my little friends, the only thing I remember about that is Michelle Pfeiffer singing on a piano.
there was also I'm pretty sure there was also a chainsaw scene which was pretty good.
I don't remember that.
But as I said, this isn't. We're scratching the surface on horror here. I wouldn't call this exactly horror. So
No.
But yeah, I would say I always felt like the reasons that what made Scarface a great film are still there. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just think the reason why the majority of people who are Scarface fans, don't like it for the reasons it's a good film. They like it because they want to be this guy with no responsibility who gets to shoot people, and that in their vision they think he has power, and once you get the power, you get the pussy and all that crap like that. They're people who believe in Tony Montana's way of life, and you see that because there's those framed pictures of Scarface in those fellas' gift shops and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
So that
generally right next to the Kramer ones.
Yeah,
which are great, by the way. Kramer's great.
Like the people who like really really love Scarface are people who probably also shop and get presents at Smoke Mart and stuff like that. So not saying as I said earlier though, disclaimer: Scarface is a great film. I just don't like the majority. 95% of the people who like it seems, are, in my opinion, cannon fodder.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I don't know as well, because I mean this was made Scarface was made in the 80s, and it was at that very sort of tumultuous time for just drug use and just gratuitous everything. I really don't think that you can. I mean, you'd have to either set it back in the 80s,
definitely,
or there are so many questions raised as to how they can go about doing this, I think, and that for me, the director and the writers, I just don't know. It just throws me.
The Coen brothers are not shy to do a period piece. They've done it before.
True.
So they could do it again. They could pull it off. If anyone is going to pull off Scarface, it will probably be the Coen brothers. Like when you think about it, like other people. I mean, imagine Michael Bay got it.
No, just no. I'm out.
It'd just be ridiculous. But like they could bring the grittiness of his character and show the horribleness and the vulnerability of Tony Montana to the screen of this, and go deep into like his breakdown and his like psyches and stuff like that. And they could do that. And I want to see them do that. And I know that if they do that and they do achieve a really good film out of this, none of these people that like Scarface, the original, are going to like it. So we will probably love it. It'll probably be great.
Likely. It'll be something that we'll sit here and be like, man, that was a damn good film. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be received well by the crowd.
It's probably going to be a future classic. Like, people won't like it, and then in like 3 years' time, people are going to look back at it and go, how good is that? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely.
Future classics. That's what you come here to a TerrorVision Horror Podcast for, the future classics.
Future classics that were made in 1983, guys.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Number 4. AMC acquired the rights to Anne Rice's literary works.
Yeah.
This is from AMC.com. So let's you can lead this. I'm not familiar with all of Anne Rice's The Vampire Chronicles, the lives of the Mayfair Witches.
Yeah, so essentially AMC have acquired the literary rights to all of her work. So they now stand to be able to make The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches. I can say that I've seen
Queen of the Damned.
I saw Queen of the Damned and I saw Interview with the Vampire. I don't think I've actually read any of her books. But I will say right now, and I'm calling it because I was talking about this months ago, I feel that if anyone was to pick up the rights to the Vampire Chronicles, that millennial hunk of spunk Timothy, is it Chalamet?
I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, that young
definitely a hunk of spunk.
He's a millennial hunk of spunk. Yep. Is 100% the first person that comes to mind to play like a Lestat or a vampire of some kind, because he's just got that look.
See,
I'm calling it now, guys.
See, there's a whole bunch of vampire-y things that could possibly come out of this. It's about time we get Alexander Skarsgård back in the role of a vampire. Pretty much True Blood when it came out. In my opinion, those first seasons, the only reason worth watching that show was to see Alexander Skarsgård in that show. Gotta say, huge man crush on that dude. He's just the best. And I want to see him reprise the role of a vampire. He plays a gangly, beautiful vampire so well.
Interesting.
Apart from we all know Tilda Swinton is the best vampire in the entire world.
It's true. Like, guys, there's no competition. But Tilda Swinton plays everything perfectly, and any films that she has or has not done, she is perfect. So
it's true. Did you see her as a vampire in What We Do in the Shadows TV show?
I haven't watched the TV show. I saw the film, and I feel that I'm one of the only few people on this planet who kind of walked away from it going,
not enough gore.
And I mean, I love Taika Waititi. I like his work, but
didn't roll with you.
It didn't, and I feel that I owe it to myself and the people that give me a lot of hate for it to sort of watch it again. But because I hear a lot of things about the TV series, and they're like, the TV series is hands down better than the movie, and it's on the list. I'll get there.
What did you think of AMC's handling of The Walking Dead?
I watched the first season of The Walking Dead, and then
you tapped out.
It's a video game TV show. Every episode is the same fucking thing. Oh, there's an obstacle. We've got to get out of the obstacle.
Man,
we got out of the obstacle.
You would hate the comics, man. The comics are just like a talkathon. Like
no.
The Walking Dead for me was okay. I feel like they only kind of like found their stride after they broke completely away from the comics kind of thing, like tried to do their own thing, which some people didn't like. The bit that I couldn't stand in The Walking Dead was season 2. They did a whole season at a farmhouse, and in the comic that was like 12 pages, and they pulled a whole season out into this one little location. I think it might have been from problems with budgeting at the time or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But it was really noticeable, I thought. And I went, oh, my God, I can't do this. And it was horrible. But in the end, it found its footing, found its own vibe. People liked it. I got to admit that I tapped out. I didn't get all the way to the end. I didn't need to get to the end. But they did, visually what they did, it looked nice. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't look like a piece of shit.
No, I mean, all the special effects was great. The characters, they looked dirty enough, I guess. There's nothing worse than watching a post-apocalyptic film and everyone's all clean, and it's like, you do not look like that after being outside for 6 to 12 months.
It's like everyone in like the Hunger Games is so clean all the time and like beautiful. Like it's like
we're not poor. You don't sleep outside.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic. Yeah, Lenny Kravitz, someone. Woody Harrelson. I suppose they were the rich people. But anyhow, we should keep an eye on this. Like, let's see what the Vampire Chronicles are like. Let's not like, let's not. The one probably The Witching Hour, would probably be the most one I'm interested in, and maybe Queen of the Damned. I don't know what the vampire. I don't even know what that word is. Lestat.
Lestat. So basically, Lestat is Tom Cruise's character in the Interview with the Vampire movie. He's the one that makes Louis. He's like the vampire guy. So the vampire Lestat basically is
like a prequel
him.
Or a sequel.
I think it's a sequel. Actually, it's him in the future.
Oh.
Living his best vampire life.
So that's never had a film made out of it or anything. I've never.
I don't even know. No, I don't think so. They might have.
Well, they've got a bit of cool stuff there.
Yeah, but there's something there to it. But there's a lot. There's 18 titles, so we're going to see a lot of vampires. Vampires are making a comeback.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, there is a lot of titles, isn't there?
Yeah.
Oh man, Some of them are going to be so bad, and we will report on them, and you'll hear it first after you've read it on another website. On TerrorVision.
Correct, sir.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to our last news article. You're right, the horror hasn't been a very, but this is a pure horror story, this one. Number 5 from bloodydisgusting.com. We have, you can read this one.
So Scream star Matthew Lillard has stated that he would happily return for an upcoming sequel.
So this is building on our first story of Neve in talks. Now Lillard is like...
Yeah, this one I've been following pretty closely because it's kind of divided the horror community a little bit because you've got all the people saying, oh, he fucking died.
Yeah, I guess he died.
They dropped the TV on him.
That doesn't necessarily mean that it kills you.
It means nothing in a horror film.
Well, in a horror film, he could go into the television and become television. He could become the poltergeist ghost, come out and grab people as a scream killer.
There you go. I would watch that. Yeah.
So would I. Especially if it had Scream written on it.
Well, yeah, 100%. So because you never saw him actually die, when you left, he was sort of just making like noises with the TV on his face.
That is true.
They never went back to it. They never sort of addressed that he had died.
So they never actually said in the film that both the young boys died. They were just like, "You did it, Sydney. you beat the bad kids.
You're number one."
Yeah, you beat the bad kids.
Yeah, so, I mean, the funny little tidbit is Matthew Lillard can actually be seen in Scream 2 when they're at the sorority party. He can be seen sort of floating around in the background because he was dating someone at the time. I can't remember who it was. So he was actually an extra. So if you want to get all technical, you could be like, well, he was there. She just never saw him.
What do you mean if you want to get technical? He was there. That's the second film. His character. Yeah. Did they give him a new name? Or was he just a background character?
He was just a background character because he was like on set with his whoever it was he was dating at the time, and they're like, "Oh, did you just go stand here?" And he's like, "Okay."
Seems like a massive continuity break.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever really meant to be noticed, but yeah. So
the guy who played Billy, do you remember him? He was the other guy.
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, Skeet. His real name is Skeet.
Yes.
Skeet Ulrich. Wait. That's not a name. Is that like short for Skeeter? Skeeter?
I honestly hope it's not. But I mean, he's going to be pushing 45, close to late 40s now. You should not still be called Skeet.
Well,
change your name.
The guy, what's his name? Lillard guy. What he looks like now, he does look a lot different. He wears glasses now. He has lost a lot of hair, so he's chosen for the Bruce Willis look. And I don't know, like you could bring him in, but I feel primarily it should always be children, like teenagers in these Scream films. Like I don't want to see an old man, stabbing up a young chick.
No, I
see enough out on the Cosby Show.
Well, I mean, what has Matthew Lillard done? I mean, I think he's in that TV show, The Good Girls, or I don't know, that show with that lady and that other lady and the lady from The Office. I don't know.
It's nothing to do with horror. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. And he's just so butthurt about this whole Scooby-Doo thing because he was Shaggy in the live action movies and he did a great job. Like he was so good at it, but then they decided to do an animated movie. They didn't ask him to come back.
Is that Scoob?
And then Scoob, yep. And then they all the talks that they have to do any more Scooby-Doo stuff. They're just like, we don't want you. And so I feel that he's kind of like, oh, but I'm getting older.
That's like when Netflix got their rights for Evangelion and then didn't cast any of the original English voice actors who have been those characters for 35 years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
I'm sick of hearing about that.
Yeah,
I never watched Evangelion, but yeah, I'm sick of hearing about that.
Yeah, you should be. And I understand that. Let's move on. That's the end of news for this week. Let's move on to our next section is what have we been watching? This is my favourite section. This is where me and Jen go through the horror of the week that we have been looking at with our own little piggy eyes.
Yeah.
So first up, I'm going to go because we have both watched this film this week. I Am a Hero. It is called. Not as I called it for the first year of my life, I Am Hero, because I didn't notice there was an A in there. So
Yep.
this is a Japanese film based on a very popular manga, who I can't remember the name of the manga artist. I'm not going to try. But the director of the film is Shunsuke Sato. He's primarily known as an anime live-action filmmaker. He did the Death Note films that you've seen probably. He did the Gantz films. He did that just recent Bleach film. He did the Library Wars films. There's a whole bunch of them. They're all based on animes. They all mangas. Sorry, they all seem quite tinny, and they just seem like they are. But you got this giant story that you have to tell, and you have to jam it into an hour and a half. So they always seem kind of like they never flesh anything out. Whereas this one worked really well. Did you enjoy it, Jen?
I loved this film, and I have to say, I am ignorant because foreign films are never my go-to because I don't have the attention span to focus on what's happening plus read. And that's just me. Nothing I'm not against, because we've watched 2 foreign films this week.
Yeah, you've had a crash course in it.
They have hands down been my favorite films that I've seen in a long while. So I absolutely love this film, and I think I recommended it to 3 or 4 people within a very small amount of time. So
did I. I really liked it. And do you know why I liked it? I was hoping it was just going to be this good. This film, everyone talks about Train to Busan and all those films as being, visionary zombie, a different look at it. And I'm like, this is it. And no one talked about this. This came out. When did it come out?
2015.
2015. Why hadn't I heard about this before this time? This film that.
Yeah.
And just for the people, it is called I Am a Hero. It's not I'm a Hero. It's I Am a Hero. So let's get into the film a bit. You can get into what go, Jen.
Okay, so basically the film sets itself around Hideo Suzuki. He's a 35-year-old mangaka assistant.
For those who don't know what that is, what is that?
I think he's like a manga artist, but he's not top tier manga artist.
So he
draws the background.
Yeah, he draws comics. So mangaka might be a bit of a weird word to most people.
Yeah, sorry guys. So he's basically just this losery, useless guy who had aspirations and dreams and didn't sort of follow them, and they're unfulfilled. So he ends up he has all these strange sort of hallucinations, which I feel are like hallucinations of grandeur throughout the film as well. So you could be getting to this really intense scene, and then all of a sudden, it's just him hallucinating, and you're like, fuck you, Hideo.
Yeah, that classic examples were when he was hiding in a locker, and he kept going through the hypothetical situations of how he was going to jump out of the locker and attack these monsters on the outside of it. But even in his hallucinations, he kept losing. It was amazing.
Yep. So every scenario, and it turned out the exact way I knew it was going to. So I don't think I should spoil it for you. He does leave the locker, but
I actually thought that first one that had happened to him, because the film did take turns that I didn't think it was going to take. So it is classic. Yeah. It is classic zombies. It's a zombie outbreak. He
is one of the only very, very few people in Japan that actually own a gun. So he is this guy who has a gun during a zombie apocalypse in Japan. The zombies are called ZQN. And they're actually a very fascinating design as well, I thought.
Yeah, there was a couple of sorts of them I liked.
Yeah, so they were all sort of living in their past memories. So, as they're sort of going around, they're sort of mumbling these phrases, one guy's on the phone or something.
Yeah, one's looks like he's on a train going to work, looking at his watch, and he's a zombie. Yeah, that was very, very cool and very cute, and it made for some really funny moments in it.
Yeah, it did. There was a very nice balance of comedy to gore horror ratio. And Japan are really generally, I feel that they're funny. They've got a great sense of humor. And I absolutely loved the designs of the zombies. When Teko died, so Teko was his girlfriend, and of course she dies. the way she contorts her body and like crawls around on the floor and just sort of like trying to attack him through the door, it gave me a very Evil Dead sort of Deadite vibe to it, because the way it was done was just so hilarious, but also like, holy fuck, like, oh my god, get out of there, like you're gonna die.
Well, that was the main thing when because I've actually read the manga as well. Like, you noticed in it there were certain types of zombies who didn't consider themselves people anymore, and they would so they wouldn't walk, they would just traverse the environment any way they could. So they would like walk backwards, upside down, spinning, rolling, and that's what she did. And it showed a couple of them in it as well. Did you notice? Like,
the spider crawling across the ground.
Those sorts are a bit more in the comics, but obviously you had to mush it down. But yeah, it's amazing, the idea of just like the idea that they just get you any way they can. It doesn't matter if they're upside down. It doesn't matter if their head's behind them. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, it was great.
Like the eyes as well. So when they were turning, not only did the eyes change, but they kind of did that Pennywise sort of going out into opposite directions. And then you just see the pupils just sort of dissolve into this.
Yeah, mess.
Oh, yeah.
But
and so good.
The instant zombie as well. Like, it only took seconds, for people to become it. And that there's an amazing taxi scene when they're in and the guy turns in whilst they're in the taxi. And I was like, this is crazy when I was watching that. And then, like, and it kind of like the people who, they kind of repeat past memories, but it's almost like it's the memory that was affecting them the most. So a lot of them are like these worried memories. It's weird, like that the businessman guy, his thing, he was like, I have to redo my whole schedule. Like, there's zombies like running towards you trying to kill you, and they're going, hello, how are you? Like, it's so good.
The guy that owned the boutique, and he's like, that's my wife, and she's like trying to get into the shop. She's like, I came to shop.
Yeah, the zombie. I know that sounds so stupid, but it was very violent as well. Like, it had. Did you get a vibe from that end bit with what we don't want to get into? But like, you almost got brain dead. Your dead alive vibe at the end, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that was like visual effects as well.
Definitely, like that. The exploding. Spoiler alert, guys! Heads explode. It's great.
Yeah, when heads explode. Whew.
Oh my lord! Like,
and like it seemed like there was enough mass of gross that when they exploded, it seemed like it was like everything was in there. You know what I mean? And everything came out, and there was the right amount of like ridiculous amount of blood everywhere. Like, I never looked at it and went. Sometimes you look at horror movies, you're like, well, there'll be heaps more blood than that. You know what I mean? I never thought that in this film, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, I'm like, that's a copious amount of blood. I'm happy with that amount of blood.
Yeah, and like, I think there was the brains you can see pulsating in the heads and shit, and like, and I was just like, this is awesome. It did have a bit of a lull in the middle. I thought 2 hours was a little bit too long.
There didn't need to be certain sequences, or they could have at least like chopped them down a little bit, I thought.
I'm wondering if they're going to go for a second one, because there were some like storylines that like didn't really get finished. I felt with the girl who was like half zombie or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, what? It's like that little Japanese man in The Simpsons standing next to, he's like, oh, come on, I'm just waiting for him to do something. And as soon as you close the door, he does something. Yeah. But she just did nothing. I'm like, well,
she did something at the start when they first introduced her.
She did.
Showing she had like superpowers. And then I was like, but a lot of the time I thought this is the moment that she's going to get them out of this. And it never happened. And I was really happy with that. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. It meant that he was the hero.
And because, like I said, he's the only one with a gun. So it was when we say gun, it was a super powerful clay pigeon gun. So he was a clay pigeon shooter, and that's the only reason he had. And I like the fact that he stuck to, you can't use my gun. Why not? Because you don't have a license. It's the law. And he had his license still.
Even when he's like, his girlfriend has kicked him out of the house, like all his stuff's being thrown out. She slammed the door in his face, and he's like, Teko, come on. At least pass me my license. Yeah. It's like, not please let me in. I love you. Why are you doing this? It's give me my license. I can't have my gun without my license.
Yeah, and because those clay pigeon guns are, like, you'd imagine shooting a clay pigeon in real life, right? So a clay pigeon is a little tiny thing that you have to shoot really quickly with a shotgun. So their spread in their bullets are really wide and they're really aggressive. So that's why that gun was so horribly powerful. And they use like the blue shotgun shells instead of the red. So yeah, you're looking at like, and yeah, when you saw some of those shots, man, I was like, oh shit, are they just shooting? Have they just made complete zombies and shoot them? I think they did, because
I kind of feel that they did.
Well, there's a little tidbit in that film that all the there's a mall scene where they hold up in a mall for a while. The mall scene was actually filmed completely in South Korea because of the gun laws in Japan, that they wouldn't let them shoot, because the gun laws are so full on. They wouldn't let them use a gun in the film, so they had to travel all the way to South Korea, find an abandoned mall, hire it, and then like do all the shooting scenes in the mall. That's like so that was actual gun the whole time. It's a real gun, which is crazy to think. It's not even a prop gun that whole time.
No, I liked it. One of the other things I did sort of like, because one of the main sort of bad characters, I think his name was Lou. He was wearing overalls the whole time, and he was evil, and he was just like, he had a face that you wanted to punch. And the whole time I'm just like, dude, unless you're a mechanic or 5 years old, you should not be wearing overalls. And I mean, look, but something happens to him.
Yeah.
And he fucking reverts to like this 5-year-old chasing a woman around screaming mummy, and I'm like, I see what you did there.
Yeah, I like that as well. I was like, why you dress so weird? And so, and he wasn't just like, there were bad guys in it, other bad guys, but they were just dickheads. Yeah, and like one of the dickheads became like, it did the classic Japanese, was on their side. It did a Vegeta on them. And that guy, like he was just on their side for the whole time, and had like a kind of a hero death. Like
he did. It was sad.
But like up until that point, you hated him because he was a dickhead. But they did a real good job of that, I thought. Anyhow, great film. I Am a Hero. Yeah.
Definitely. I think the one thing I will say is, like, I am someone who, and I won't spoil the ending necessarily, but I will say that, you know, I'm someone who does like a bleak ending, and I was kind of like really hoping that this one wasn't going to be bleak.
Oh,
That's all I say about it.
I did like the opening of it was amazing. Like when the zombie apocalypse happened, I was like, this is sick, but there's no way they can keep this up, and they didn't. Yeah. But it had a lull. But then the end came back up again into another amazing moment that I was like, oh, you did it, because like. A lot of times I get like, you know, like, what was it, the remake of, was it Day of the Dead? It had that amazing opening, and then like it just fell apart. Like,
yeah, it just loses it.
And I thought, oh, this film's going to do that, because this start is so powerful and good. But yeah, and maybe the middle wasn't a lull. Maybe the middle was just that it was just normal in the middle, and it's just the start and end are so good that like, because there was interesting stuff happening at all moments, like.
Yeah, I think at no point was there something that wasn't introducing you to the possibility of something else.
Great film. Anyhow,
yeah.
What did you give it? What did you give it? I'm trying to find my...
I gave it a 4.
A 4? I gave it a 4 as well.
Yep.
That's good.
I gave it a 4.
Nice.
Definitely go watch it.
Now, what else have you been watching?
Oh, what have I... Well... so I watched Gretel and Hansel this week. So it came out this year. It's directed by Oz Perkins. He also directed I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the Wall, which I haven't watched, but one day I'll get to it.
It's a great name for a film, but...
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those manga titles that just gets super, super long.
Yeah.
But so basically it's the tale of Hansel and Gretel, but the reason why they changed the names around is because she's slightly older. So they basically, you know the story, like they go out into the woods, desperate, they searching for food, and they stumble upon a witch's house where there's a witch.
Is it made out of candy? Did that happen in Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah, that is Hansel and Gretel. It didn't happen in this, but there was always food. So I'm not going to give too much about that away, because I really think that people should give this a watch.
Oh, really?
It also stars Sophia Lillis, who she was Beverly Marsh in the child version of Beverly Marsh in It. and she's in that series on Netflix, I'm Not Okay With This.
Oh, yep.
The one thing I will say...
Which is based on a graphic novel.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yep.
The one thing I will say about this is it was produced by Orion Pictures. It was absolutely, like, the forest scene, it was very aesthetically pleasing. The cinematography was great. I feel that it was the redheaded cousin of an A24 film. I feel that if this was in the hands of A24, it would have been so much better.
Right.
And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Was slightly disappointed by the ending. But yeah.
You're right.
The soundtrack was great as well. So it was done by a Paris-based composer called Rob, who did the Maniac soundtrack. So it was basically like a lot of electronic soundscapes, which it's actually surprisingly slotted in for a period film.
That's good. The poster's amazing, like with the tree that says "feed" in the branches. I really appreciated that, and a bit of a triangle. Always a fan of a triangle.
Yeah, and I really like the design of the witch as well. So they didn't go, because obviously, like nowadays with films, you can't just have like the Wizard of Oz style witch
with a pointy hat.
She did have a little bit of the pointy hat though. But I really liked the design of her. It was very subtle. Like she was sort of this tall, elderly woman, all just in black, like a very fitted black dress. And her fingers up to the knuckle were all black as well.
Yeah.
So that was the only way that sort of made it a bit sinister. But yeah, like I really enjoyed it. So I gave that one 2.5.
Is it gory?
There are some moments with the gore.
You wouldn't call it a gore film, though?
I wouldn't call it a gore film, no. Like it was just very enjoyable, but it was more like a slow burn sort of horror.
What genre would you call it from our new horror genre and subgenre skill tree that we've got now? Would you go paranormal? Witches in a cult?
Yeah, I'd say witches in a cult, paranormal kind of film.
Okay. I get it. So
definitely worth a watch.
So we probably can't go over everything we've been watching this week. So I also watched Army of Darkness. I'm not going to get into Army of Darkness because I could do a whole show on Army of Darkness.
I think we should.
Yeah, we will probably soon. Evil Dead 3, I watched that one. Did you want to mention a couple more that you've mentioned? Because I want to get on to our movie of the week that we watched.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so I also watched House on Haunted Hill, the 1999 remake of the William Castle film. So we did talk about that very briefly. I was just watching that for fun. Just chuck it on while I'm folding the washing. I also watched The Haunted World of El Superbeasto again, one of my favourite sort of films, directed by Rob Zombie. A lot of people hate it. I love it. It is, so it's inspired by a lot of Ralph Bakshi, who did Fritz the Cat. It's inspired by Ren and Stimpy and Groovy Ghoulies.
Is it a cartoon?
It is a cartoon. It's overtly sexual, just gratuitously violent. There's nudity. There's just ridiculousness everywhere. It's kind of like if SpongeBob was filthy.
I always get people coming in asking for the comic of it. Well,
I've got the comic as well. So, nice. But I love Rob Zombie. We won't talk about his latest film because that hurts my soul a little bit. But
what was that called?
Yeah,
which one?
The Three from Hell.
Oh yeah, because I was working my way up to watching that because I was excited, and then you're like.
That was my professional response to that one. So I mean, again, like a lot of people, it got panned. It was just, everyone hated it, but for me, it's just a lot of fun. And whenever I'm feeling like slightly down or stressed, I'll just chuck it on, and it always makes me feel slightly better. And Rosario Dawson's in it. She does a voice of this just disgusting stripper, and I love it so much.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So originally, our movie of the week was going to be Save the Green Planet, but me and you both couldn't find a copy of it.
Oh my god, yep. Yeah, it was the trial and error.
So we moved on to our second choice, and I'm so glad we did, of House. No, not House as in the house you watched last week. The House, the 1977 Japanese horror film.
Is
it 77 or 71?
It was 1977.
Oh. I got it.
Yes.
I got it wrong. I said it to you the other day.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I'll forgive you.
Now, the reason we chose this one is because number one, I've always wanted to watch this. This comes up in my world a fair lot, this movie. There's always people doing graphic designs about it. People are always redesigning the poster. And I see so many good designs that people have done of this film, like redesigns of the poster and just like homages and like stuff like that. So I thought this must be worth watching. And oh my God, was this film worth watching. They're so good.
Oh, I had such a hard time getting this film as well. I was having a hard time. So the copy that I got, the subtitles weren't working. In the end, I found a streaming service that had it. So I watched it and I immediately just sort of what the fuck did I just watch? And can I watch it again?
I know. I felt like that straight away as well. So it's directed. I cannot say this guy's name. Do you want to have a go at it, Jen?
I think it's Nobuhiki Obayashi.
Nobuhiki Obayashi, and he died in April 10th, 2020.
Yeah,
What?
so he recently did pass away, which is sad to hear. He's a pretty prominent Japanese director now, so that's I'm kind of glad that we're having a bit of a chat about him now as well.
So 1977. How many years ago is that? I can't do maths in my head.
You're asking me to do math in my head? I don't know.
Let's not. So you've got
something years ago.
So you've got it in here in your notes. Distributed by Toho. Why is that relevant?
Why isn't it relevant? Toho do heaps of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
like
don't.
Godzilla.
Yeah, so it's in that kind of like vein of what's happening. So the story of this film, it's going to give you the light, quick version. So there's a girl who, her name. Oh, first I'm going to mention the names of the characters.
The fucking names. Yeah.
So is it 7 girls or something like that?
There are 7 girls in total.
7 girls in total. So the main character, the main girl whose name is Gorgeous, she invites her 6 friends to what is it? It's like it's to her aunt's ancestral home. So it's like basically, her family home. And she hasn't seen her aunt in many, many, many years. And she invites her friends. So I'll just name off her friends. So her 6 friends are Prof, as in Professor.
Short for Professor.
Melody, which is not that weird these days. Mac, who is the token fat girl in the film.
Who is not fat.
Whatsoever. She is not fat at all. She is just slightly bigger than all the thin stick girls in this movie. Like,
yeah, she's probably got, 3 or 4 kilos on top of the other girls. That's it. Yeah. There's nothing fat about her.
Then they have Fantasy, and then a girl named Kung Fu, and the last girl's name is Sweet. They all kind of had traits of their names in a weird way, which makes no sense whatsoever. Anyhow, the film opens, and straight away you realise this film has got something to say. This film is not... As someone who is has done a lot of editing in his life, there are edit techniques in this film that I have never seen ever.
No.
To give
a lot of blue screen work.
Yeah, well, just to give you an example. So you open up, it's a 4:3 film, because it's in 1977. But then within that 4:3 frame, there is another 4:3 frame, which is smaller. So it's like, it's got a border around the outside. There's some stuff happening in that frame, like a girl in front of some candles and like cutting between another girl taking photos of her. And she looks scary and it's in black and white. Then a background comes into the background, which is a still shot background. And then as the 4:3 shot moves, the timing of the 4:3 shot matches up with the background, and then they both blend into the same picture. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Why was that there? The reason is, there is no reason. Whoever edited this film just went nuts on editing techniques. Weird stuff that you'd never expect. And it never, ever lets up. Every single scene in this film continually keeps you going. Like, there's a lot of old films that I watch where I get a little bit bored in them because I'm like, it's a different time, stuff was slow. This film is like, every single scene had really creative, ridiculous ideas that you just watched it to see what would happen next, and anything could happen next, because at first it doesn't seem like it's very horror, and then there's some full tilt weird stuff that happens in this film.
Yeah. I would like to say it's kind of, so the first opening, maybe the first like quarter of the film is basically like sort of 1980s 90s sitcom opening paired with a Mentos or Coke ad. But that Coke is definitely laced with some form of psychedelic drug, and then you just send them out into this. Just, what the hell? Because a lot of what he did, like all the backgrounds, they didn't need to be done the way he did. He was just painting backdrops, putting them into these backdrops that just did not need to be like that. Overly saturated blue skies. Where she's visiting her dad was kind of like a Bold and the Beautiful style
which
scene.
was all shot through a glass wall, like from the other side. So like it was one of those square plate glasses that have like beveled edges, so it distorts the picture, and it just shot the whole scene through that. And then you had the mum. So she has a new mum. Her dad's like remarrying, and that's why she goes to stay with her auntie because she's upset. How weird is the new mum? She just always shows her she's in like slow motion with a scarf blowing in the wind for no reason.
Yeah,
and I thought she was gonna be evil, but there was no reason.
No, I think there was no reason for the majority of what was happening in this film. So, Obayashi, this was his first feature film, so he had literally come off of commercial success. He was well known for making commercials in Japan, and a lot of the time the budget for commercials was sometimes bigger than a movie budget.
You're right.
So he had produced a lot of short films. I've never seen any of his other work, but what the hell?
Don't get us wrong, every part of this was good. Like,
yeah, I fucking love this film, and I'm keen to watch it again.
Yeah. It heavily involves a cat. So there's a cat in it, and you'll see if you ever look any of this stuff up, the cat is heavily in all the branding of this thing. And just whenever the cat's eyes flash green, it goes crazy. Like,
yeah.
But then there's some quite, because these guys are quite young, there's quite a bit of nudity in it, and I was a bit weirded out about. Did you find that? Especially that weird swimming bit at the end when they're all swimming in blood naked?
Well, yeah, that was a bit strange. I found that the nudity, because let's face it is a Japanese film, they do like to put nudity in it wherever they can. It wasn't as much nudity as I thought there would be.
Yeah, so like erotic ghost story.
Yeah. So a lot of what it was not, like, they were sort of disembodied, kind of floating boobs over here and legs over here and this, that, and the other. So for me, it was just like I was watching it and I'm like, oh, look, boobs.
Yeah, yeah.
Why are they there? Yeah, they're boobs. Let's not argue.
The concepts of the deaths were crazy. I've never seen anything like some of these scenes. They took you on a roller coaster ride of effect, and especially for the time, this was effect laden. There were visual effects, there were practical effects, visual effects, post effects, stuff that you can tell they're just like, let's just do it like this. Oh, we want to chop fingers off. Let's just green screen the fingers off. And I thought it looked quite good for a lot of the effects. The floating head I thought was hilarious. It came out the well. I thought that was...
yeah. Well, I got such strong... So if anyone was to come and say that, oh, no, Sam Raimi didn't watch this before he did Evil Dead, you fucking lying. This had Evil Dead sort of written all over it, and I loved it. It's like even the bit where the legs hopping around and then it like hops into the cupboard, and then the cupboard opens up next and it pops out and starts waving at them.
Or just a cupboard will open and just blood will just pour out. But it's great.
What I do like about this film was that a lot of the ideas came from Obayashi's daughter. So she was a 10-year-old, and a lot of the things were just like stuff that she'd seen in nightmares. So you think about the film from the perspective of a 10-year-old. Yeah, that makes sense. It does look like the visual nightmare of a 10-year-old.
Well, a girl does die from a bunch of mattresses attacking her.
Yeah, that was...
Which was great. The piano scene was shocking. That was... I've never seen anything like that, ever in my life.
No. No. And what I liked about that was they hinted to it quite early on in the film. So Melody, who obviously is a musician, she's playing the piano and she's like, "Oh, it just feels like it bit me." And that's setting you up for something.
Yeah, but anyhow, it was such a great film. Everyone who is a horror fan should, and every scene I watched, and then I thought to myself, 1977. Imagine people watching it back then. Like, it would have affected people.
Yeah, and the thing was that they actually, they had started talking about it, and like Toho had approached Obayashi about doing a feature film, and they kind of wanted to have a blockbuster film that was going to rival Jaws. And I mean, you hold up House and you hold up Jaws, and it's not even the same ball game. Like,
there's nothing.
Two films compared to each other, not even a little bit. But because they were trying to get a lot of it off the ground, they actually had re-release. They did a radio drama in 1976, as well as a one-shot manga, and that kind of gained momentum for the movie to get the go-ahead. So, yeah, crazy.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5 stars. I was just my jaw dropped when I saw it. I was just like, this is the best. How have I not seen this before? And why hasn't anyone ever told me to watch this? But as I said, the visuals always have come up, so it's only my fault that I hadn't seen this film. It's always coming up in my horror searches. It's always coming up in my web searches.
It's always on those lists of like, here's 101 horror movies you must see before you die. It's always in there, and it's always relatively high. It's just not something that I think it's been one of those films that I've never recalled it in a video shop.
I don't think it ever came here, and I think that might have been the problem. I don't think it was ever had a VHS release in the time. It probably has a DVD release now.
It does, it's not an Australian release. You can get it from the Criterion collection. So they're an American company. They've actually just done this huge fuck-off Godzilla box set with amazing artwork. But if you don't have, $300 or $400, you ain't gonna buy that. So I'm sort of sitting there. I'm on the fence, and like the exchange rate's pretty bad at the moment. But I want all those special features,
all those special things.
Is it going to be worth it?
I definitely love to get some of those fan-made posters for this thing. So good.
Yeah.
Some of it.
Definitely. And the cat's name's Blanche.
Blanche.
Can we just stop and focus on that for a second? The cat is named Blanche.
The golden girl?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, it is. And I'm okay with it.
It's good. It's good. All right. So I think we need to work out now what our next homework section is. I've got a suggestion, and I don't think you've seen it. Have you seen Beyond the Black Rainbow yet?
I haven't watched it yet, but now is as good a time as any.
So that's our next week. So next week we will be talking about Beyond the Black Rainbow. That's it, I think. I think we can... so let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. So thank you for listening, everyone. I hope your horrorness is all horror-y. So you can catch us on all streaming services out there. So SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes. We also have a YouTube channel. We also have an Instagram account at TerrorVision Pod. You can check that. Basically, everything we do is this TerrorVision Pod. We have an email. If you want to email us in your love of movies, anything you want, any feedback, or if you hate us, do that to TerrorVisionPod@gmail.com. So, have you got anything to plug, or is that all your pluggables?
That's all my pluggables for now, I feel. Yeah.
Okay, so this has been the TerrorVision podcast, and signing off. And remember, kids, if you can't find a friend, make one.